Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. The Jakarta Post in January said that up to 150,000 garment workers will lose their jobs in Indonesia this year. That is no good for the workers, it is no good for the factory owners, and it's certainly no good for Indonesia. Even if the workers do not lose their jobs, I'm sure all of you who are involved in the garment industry want to, as Minister Kunjaro said before, shorten the response time because the people who buy garments are fickle. Their tastes change. They want to have fastest possible response. And also, as he mentioned, we need effective labor, not only low-cost labor, but effective labor. My name is Ken Bonet. I work for Thomas Group, which is a U.S. company based in Hong Kong. I live in Indonesia, however. And today I would like to talk about how Thomas Group can hopefully help the garment factories and textile factories in Indonesia. Saya tidak bisa berbicara bahasa Indonesia dengan pandai, so maaf kalau saya berpidato dalam bahasa English. Tetapi slide-slide dalam bahasa English dan juga bahasa Indonesia. Mudah-mudahan saya terjemahkan, terjemahkannya tidak begitu buruk. Belum lancar berbicara bahasa Indonesia. So I'm going to talk first about Thomas Group, and then about process value management, which is the methodology we use. Then I'll talk about Thomas Group's experience with textile and garment factories in Asia. And then I'll talk a little bit more about a specific program which we worked in Hong Kong for 15 garment factories. We are based in Dallas, Texas, but we have offices in Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Frankfurt, Germany. We were founded in 1978, and we've had over 300 successful programs since the founding of our company. We're a little different. We're not really a consulting company. We call ourselves resultants because we'd like to think we bring results, hasil. Most of our, or all of our resultants are senior management people who have average of 22 years experience as executives and managers in various industries. Frankly, my own experience was 20 years in aerospace. And 4 years ago, I joined Thomas Group, and since then, I've been heavily involved in garment factories in Malaysia and China, for example, and also Hong Kong. Could you go back, please, Mundur? We are, therefore, results-oriented. We work every day in the factory. We don't give you a report, ask for the pay to the check, and then leave. We work every day from 8 to 6, or whenever hours you work in the factory, working with management and staff to bring results. And as I mentioned, we have considerable garment factory experience. Next slide, please. We have a 16-step process which really can be reduced to 4 groups. First, we identify the processes. All management theories today look at businesses as a process, not functional departments, whatever process you're talking about. Next, we map the processes, and I'll explain this a little bit more detail later. Next, we map the processes and try to find out what are the value-added steps and what are the non-value-added steps. For example, is inspection a value-added step? Inspection may be necessary, but it does not add value. And the more inspections you have, the more it shows that something else is wrong. Quality is obviously a problem. After we look and map the process, we try to determine what our baseline and entitlement is. Baseline is simply where you are today regarding a particular measure, whether it's sample cycle time, sample quality, customer response time. And then we try to figure out what your entitlement should be, which is where you should be without adding additional resources, without adding additional machines or people or capital. Just by using our methodology, you can reach entitlement. And then we have to identify what are the barriers to your reaching entitlement. And then we have to remove those barriers. Next slide, please. So all business processes, whether you're talking about marketing, supply chain management, or factory fulfillment, we look at as a process. The processes have steps. We say each step should have a value. Otherwise, why bother having it? And also, each step should have the highest possible accuracy, what we call first pass yield. So our key drivers are cycle time, the speed to do something, and the first pass yield, the quality of doing that step. Next slide, please. On top, you see what we call the old mindset. This is where each factory has different departments. Oftentimes, the departments compete with each other. Oftentimes, the departments do not communicate with each other. For example, let's say you go from weaving, spinning, you have the cloth, you have the garment, or you have the fabric, and you want to send it to the garment, to production, to marking. So maybe you're going to inspect it before it goes out the door. Then it goes 10 feet away to the marking department, and they inspect it again because they want to make sure that you really send them good fabric. That's 2 inspections for the same piece of fabric. That's wasteful. On the bottom, this is what modern management methodologies preach, whether it's Six Sigma, re-engineering, or our own process value management, and that is a seamless business process. You don't focus on the departments, you focus on the process. And by doing that, you're able to improve the process and end up, hopefully and definitely, satisfying the customer more quickly and with better accuracy. Next slide, please. This is a typical factory process for garments. I do have copies of this presentation outside if you'd like to look at it, or take a copy. If you don't, I had 100 copies. If they're not enough, please let me know. I'll be happy to make you a copy or email you a copy. It shows simply the beginning of the process from receipt of the technical package to cutting, sample making, sample approval, suppliers, purchase orders issued, goods received, notice raised, started cutting.